Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you tonight about something that I almost can 100% guarantee you've never heard before. I'd never heard it before until I did the research on it. Talk to you about a subject that is actually worldwide, but especially here in the United States. I'm going to talk to you about race and racism and the solution to it. Now, I know that's a big one, but I'm going to give you some information that I think that's going to help you, and it's going to help set us all free. You know, we think in terms of, we're here to watch the news. I'm a big news, I love the news. I just watch it all the time. I'm just a big political guy. I'm not political in the ministry. I don't get into politics. This is not about politics tonight. But I watch it, to see what's going on in the world. It seems like there's always something going on about race relations. You hear the words constantly in the news. What's going on in the world? There's a problem in this city. They're having a race problem. There's a problem over here. And people get blamed on both sides, and there's a constant battle going on. It's just in our culture. And it started bothering me. In fact, I was thinking about it the last couple of years more than ever before. It seems like it's gotten better in some ways, but also gotten worse. And it's really been weighing on my mind. So I thought, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to find out what's going on with race. What's going on with this whole race thing? What's it all about? Now I'm going to tell you something that this is going to amaze you. There was a project that started. Took them 13 years to do it. Some of you may have heard of it. It was in the news a little bit, but not much. It actually should have been the biggest story of the 21st century. It should still be the biggest story of the 21st century. Now, as you see, I'm sitting here in a TV studio, and behind me is a news desk. They do the news every day. News desks all over this country should have made this absolutely number one. But what happened is they didn't. So I'm going to bring it to you. I want you to have this news. There was a project done. It was called the Human Genome Project. Done by scientists all over the world, a group of scientists headed by Dr. Francis Collins. Took them 13 years, and the point of the project was to map, for the first time, the human genome. To actually map the human gene. Over the 13 years, and a lot of people thought they could never get it done, they actually did it. They finished it in April 2003. Now think about where we are in time now. That project was completed in April 2003. Right after that project came out and they issued the report, a little short time after, they put out another report, and in the report they said, really, we need to stop using the word race. Let me say that again. They said we need to really stop using the word race, because there are no races. I want that to sink in. There are no races. Every human all over the earth, because this project was being done around the world. And when they mapped the human genome, they found out that every human being on this planet, regardless of the tone of our skin, color of our eyes, where we're born, all of us, our genes are 99.9% identical to each other. I'm going to say that one more time. Our genes, no matter where you are on this planet, where you were born, what color, tone of skin you have, what your eyes look like, how tall you are, how little you are, what nation you came from, our genes are 99.9% identical. So they said we really should stop using the word race, because there are no races. There's just one race, the human race. Now I bet there's people. I bet as you're watching there, you're just sitting. I never heard that. That should have been blasted all over 24-hour news channels for just months. How often do you hear it? What do we hear? We still hear constant talk about races. What race are they part of? Oh, this race fights this race. There are no races. There's only one race, the human race. You're part of that race. In fact, they didn't just say that. They said more. We're actually all relatives of each other. We're not only have the same genetic genes with each other, but more than that, we're actually cousins. We are all relatives of one another. We can all trace our lineage back to the same original man and original woman. Now that might sound a little bit familiar to you, because that's what the Bible says. That God made man and a woman, and that we all came and descended from them. We can all trace our heritage, our grandfather, their grandfather, all the way back to the original first two humans, Adam and Eve. And the Human Genome Project validated what Moses, who wrote the book of Genesis, the book of the beginnings, had written more than 3,000 years before, that we all came from the same two people. Now, that alone is gigantic. So then I began to think about it. Why, since it's such a huge story, why, since it's so big, why, since it's so, that's just massive that there are no races, that we actually are all one race. We're all part of the human race. Skin tone is meaningless. In fact, I'm going to tell you this. And I'm a minister, so I love the Bible, and I always find it fascinating when science validates what the Bible has said for thousands of years. The Bible does not talk at all about skin tone. Skin color is not in the Bible. It's not there. In the Bible, think about this. The Bible covers everything. Bible covers economies. It covers how to raise a family. It covers marriage. It covers how to run a government. I mean, anything that has to do with the human condition is in the Bible. But just glaring by its absence is any mention of the tone of anybody's skin. In fact, in the entire Bible, there's only one reference to the tone of anybody's skin. I'm going to give you the reference real quick. It's in the book of Jeremiah, the prophet. Jeremiah is in the Old Testament, and he's prophesying to Israel. And Israel, this is something Israel did commonly in the Old Testament, is what they would do is they'd be worshiping God. Then they would go and they would start marrying the women in the countries that were around Israel. And then the women in the countries around Israel had idols. They would bring those idols with them, and then the Israelites would start worshiping idols, and then God would send a prophet to start warning them and say, don't worship idols. I am the only true God. Don't worship idols. It's going to hurt you. It's going to ruin your nation. But they were worshiping idols. That exact thing happened, and so Jeremiah was prophesying to them. He's saying to Israel, I want you to listen, Israel. You've got to stop this. You've got to stop this. But you know what? You're never going to change. Jeremiah's prophesying. Israel, you're never going to change. And here's the verse. He says, just like the Ethiopian cannot change the color of his skin, nor can a leopard change its spots, so Israel, you will never change. And then he goes on and prophesies more and more about Israel. That little tiny verse is the only reference in the entire Bible about skin tone. That little verse. When he makes a reference, he said the Ethiopian can't change his skin color. He didn't even say what the color of the skin was. Just says can't change it. Wasn't putting him down, just says it can't be changed, just like the leopard can't change its spots. That's it. If skin tone meant something, if there was some meaning to the tone of your skin, God would have warned you. There have been all kinds of verses about, now be really careful because people that are over there with that certain color, you got to be aware of them because they're evil. Or the people that live over in that place, they've got another skin tone and they look a certain way. You got to be careful of them because they're really evil, they're really bad. You got to be aware. Not a breath of that. So obviously from our Creator's point of view, the tone of our skin means nothing. It is meaningless. The tone of your skin and my skin is meaningless. And about 3,500 years after the book of Genesis was written, they finished the Human Genome Project and validated what it said, that we are all one single race, 99.9% identical to one another. Think about that, 99.9% identical. I mean, that's just gigantic. There's only that little 0.1% difference is where, in that little 0.1% difference, that's where the skin tone is. We all, by the way, have the exact same, in our skin, we all have the exact same we all have the exact same chemicals that make your skin, whether it's very dark, light, brown, it doesn't matter. We all have that in our skin tones. We also have, all of us have in our genes, whether or not your eyes are more round or less round. That's all in every human being. It's in that little tiny 0.1% difference that we see the differences in the way we look, but it's meaningless. We're one race. The National Academy of Sciences, a whole bunch of members of the National Academy of Sciences got together and petitioned the National Academy to come up with a board to sit down and figure out new words to use when they print their scientific journals and when the scientists write their papers, so that they can stop using the word race, because the word race is no longer valid because it doesn't there are no races, they're just the human race. We're one race, folks. You're my cousin, and I'm your cousin. We're all cousins to each other. All of us. Now that's the truth. Both from what the Bible said it, and science finally 3,000 years, about 3,500 years after Moses had written it in Genesis, science validated it. One race. So then I started thinking, but wait a second. If we're all one race, and even though that news came out, but science, and they do write about it, they do talk about it a little bit. They talk about it in their papers. And if you want to Google it, you can look it up, and I'm going to put some links on my website. You could go there and you can read some articles about it if you like to take the time to do it. But I started thinking, well, then where did all this race stuff come from? Where did all these problems of race originate? Who thought of it? Why did we have race problems? So I started doing the research on racism. Where did it start? Modern racism. Now, of course, for centuries, people have been treating each other horribly, sometimes really well and sometimes horribly. You'd have a group of people, a tribe, or a group, and a people group, and they'd go down and say, okay, we're bigger, we're stronger, we're going to go attack that other people group, and we're going to take all this stuff. They go down and attack them, and they take all their goods and their wives and stuff, and rob everything from them because they're bigger and stronger and we're better. And that's been going on for centuries, but not really racism like our modern racism. So where did that whole concept come from? The whole concept of modern racism, the concept of superior and inferior races. Where did that idea even start? So I did the research. Guess where it began? Our good friend, Charles Darwin, and the theory of evolution. I'm going to say that again. It began with Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution. Now, before Darwin, there was scientists who were coming up with biological reasons as to why race made a difference and color of skin made a difference, and they were trying to use it. And there was racism before that. But there was arguments. There were some scientists that were arguing both ways, and so there was a battle going on back and forth. But when Darwin released his book, and it was 1859, on the origin of the species, the world, the whole academic world just bought it. I mean, they didn't just buy it a little bit. They jumped on it and just went whole 100% into it. And I'm not talking about little universities. I'm talking about Oxford, Cambridge, Yale, Harvard, all the major universities of Europe. The scientists just bought into it. They loved it because they had always hated the fact, listen to this, they'd always hated the fact that what the Bible said and what was written in the Bible trumped science. So if science came up with some theory and the Bible said something different, then the Bible overruled it. But then Darwin came along and said, there is no God. This is the theory of evolution. It's maybe been a long time since you've actually heard it. If you haven't been in school for a while, it's being taught in school right now. There is no God. Think about this. This is his theory. There is no God. There is just the earth. There's no life on the earth. No life, no God, no director of making life, no beings. They're just nothing. They're just the earth. There's some molecules. There's some water. And for some pure, and even he didn't know why, some pure random chance, by some pure random accident, the molecules that were not alive and the graphene and the carbon and somehow mixed just right, and lightning was going, and somehow a simple cell got created. So we went from no life to life by just pure, accidental, random chance. Nothing directed it. No one was behind it. No one was making it happen. It just randomly happened. And then that simple cell, over millions of years, developed and went more and more and more and more. And finally, after millions of years, it evolved and it developed, and it finally became like a little tadpole thing, and it was able to crawl out of the water. And then finally, over millions of years more, it became another thing. And finally, over years and more, it kept evolving. I'm going through it quickly, but you know the theory. And then finally, they got mammals, and from mammals, you finally got bigger mammals and more mammals, and they finally evolved to other mammals. And then other species were dying out, they were going away, but new species were being formed as they evolved. And over millions and millions of years, you finally got to apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, and from those, finally, they developed into humans. And we are all here by pure random chance, and we're all just animals, created by nothing, just random accident. Now, in the theory, and it wasn't just Charles Darwin. Charles had a cousin, famous cousin. He, by the way, was the gentleman that invented the word eugenics. In the theory, some humans, being that we're all just animals and we're evolving, some humans had evolved more than other humans. So there were superior humans and less superior humans, in fact, inferior humans. Think about that. So we've got superior humans and we've got inferior humans, and guess who the superior humans were? Well, of course, Charles Darwin and his cousin had light skin, so of course it was the light-skinned folks that were the superior ones. And the darker your skin was, the more inferior you were. Now, folks, they took this thing, and I'm not going to spend the time. It would take forever to tell all the stories that happened because of the theory of evolution, the idea of superior and inferior races. You know the stuff that happened due to racism, the slavery that people were put into due to the fact that they were considered less than human, only part human. They went down, the scientists wanted one believed that the Aboriginal people down in Australia were the actual missing link. They were the in-between human and ape. So at first they went down and they wanted specimens. So they dug up graves of the Aborigines and they brought them up and so they could dissect them. But that wasn't good enough, so they decided that they wanted species that were much more fresh. So they went down and they started having them shot. I bet you've never heard this before. Look it up. They went down and they started shooting Aboriginal people so that they could have fresh specimens so that they could dissect them, because in their world of evolution and eugenics, they were just dissecting like no different than dissecting a rabbit. They were dissecting an animal. Think about that. So that eugenics went on, the theory of evolution went on. It went from the universities, it went on into our culture, started being taught in all the schools, and people just bought it. Now, the church fought against it and said it wasn't true. And the science, so there was a battle that's been going on between the church world that said, no, we were created by God in His image. And there was an original man and woman, and we all came from Him. And then the scientific world and the universities and the sciences said, no, there is no God. And it just all happened by random chance. And that argument's been going on for a long time. But in the meantime, for centuries, we've been having horrible things happen in the name of racism. Superior and inferior races. And it's a lie. An utter and complete lie. Proven by hard science in April 2003, when they finished the Human Genome Project and found out that the Bible was true. We are all 99.9% exactly alike. We are all relatives of each other. We are one race, one people. One race, one people. So let that just sink in for a minute. Think of all the garbage that's gone on because of that lie. Think of all the harm that's been done to millions of people because of that lie. How come you haven't heard it more? How come it hasn't been the biggest story of the 21st century? Because it sort of makes a really big dent in the whole theory of evolution, doesn't it? Now, I'm going to read something to you. In fact, let me read this to you. This is from, you're going to love this. This is what the Bible says. This is from the book of Genesis. I want to tell you who God says you are. Listen to this. I want to tell you who God says you are. God made earth creatures in a vast variety of species. This is Genesis chapter 1. He made wild animals, domesticated animals of all sizes, and small creeping creatures, each able to produce its own kind. God saw that His new creation was beautiful and good, and God paused. And then God said, now listen to this. Then God said, now let us conceive a new creation. I'm going to say that one more time. God said, let us conceive a new creation. Humanity. Made in our image and our likeness. And let us grant them authority over all the earth, the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the domesticated animals and the small creeping creatures on the earth. So God did just that. He created humanity in His image. Created them male and female. Then God blessed them. And He said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, govern it. Reign over the fish of the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground. Written 3,500 years ago by Moses when he wrote the book of the beginnings. God says we were created in His own image. Please listen to this. God said we were created in His image. He made a new creation. He made a a new being that had never existed before, human beings. He made us in his likeness. He made us in his own image. In the Message Bible, he said he made us God-like, reflecting his nature. That's who we are. That's who you are. Now I'm going to say something. I'm starting because I'm running out of time, but I'm going to say something to you. If you live in, I don't care where you live, if you live in Malibu Colony, or if you live in Newport Coast, if you live in the inner city, I don't care where you live, what economic status you've achieved, we're all exactly the same. The person that owns a house in Malibu Colony on the ocean and the person that lives in the inner city are identical and cousins. If you've ever in your life been made to feel that you are somehow less because of the tone of your skin, you've been lied to. If you've been told that you are somehow more because of the tone of your skin, you've been lied to. We all were lied to. We're one race, one people, one blood, cousins of each other, all over this earth. I'm a cousin to everybody in Nigeria. I'm a cousin to everybody in Africa. I'm a cousin to everybody in the United Kingdom, and they're all my cousins. And you're my cousins, and I'm your cousin. It's time we start acting that way. I'm almost out of time, folks. I've got a whole lot more to talk to you about this. I'm going to talk to you about it next week. We're going to go into this a whole lot more. Please tune in next week. Don't miss it. If you need to DVR it, you've got to get the rest of this. There's so much more. I'm going to tell you how priceless you are. Priceless human being you are because of what God has done for the human race. I'll see you next week. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to hear from you. You can send me a text or an email to michael@michaeldalton.com, or you can call the 800 number that you see on the screen. You can also just go on our website, click on the Contact Us page, and from right there you can send us a message. You can also write to us at the address that's on the screen. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks for watching. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to walk in freedom. I want you to listen to this. This is a universal principle. To the degree that you believe lies and act on lies is to the degree that you live in bondage, depression, fear. But to the degree that you know the truth and act on the truth is to the degree that you walk in freedom.